Okay, hello everyone. This is our group video presentation 7 of course CS591 Advanced Artificial Intelligence. I'm Sajal Bandari and my two friends are Divya and Ashok. I'll be starting our presentation. Okay. Okay, talking about the introduction, like um okay. Okay, like in this presentation, we were given to like uh, read the paper, risk assessment of additional works in railway construction investment using the base network. And here it implements the railway infrastructure construction projects that uses sustainable development goals with extension of individual investment stages, and which were designed by different uh, networks that helps to mitigate different ways to reduce risks and check the effect of reducing the risk factors and determine satisfactory level of effects. Okay, so talking about the railway infrastructure, uh, it, it is a very delicate process and it constitutes of different stages, and there are different assumptions on every design, and the condition of project's implementation can be changed during the execution of tasks. And so this essay provides an overview of the proprietary risk management strategy for the uh, railway projects. And this work's original element includes risk detection, and which is done by using the Bayesian network analysis. Okay, and like it is a multi-stage procedure, and it starts from the creation of the basic concept to the commissioning of the whole project, and the most significant investment can take several years. So uh, due to which, like, this topic has gained a lot of attention in today's industrial need, and there are numerous proprietary ways available. Okay, so according to the ISO standard, risks can be defined as a mix of events, consequence, and the probability of the event occurring. As a result of the foregoing risks, that can be defined by the function R equals to where R is a function of P and C, where P is the possibility of certain event occurring, and C is the impact or consequence of the event on the final. Okay, and this is a framework model for risk assessment method, and this is based on the guideline of the standard ISO 31 no, 2012 risk management principles. And the main element of bias network model is used to build data from expert interviews. And like we can see there, like it can be break down into three core component. They are risk identification, risk analysis, and risk evaluation, where the risk evaluation is performed by using the consequence probability matrix, which allows to clearly determine the level of risk and to carry out activities. Okay, now there are certain factors that are associated with the identification of the risks of additional works in railway projects, and they create additional work in uh, like during the infrastructure building, and they also come with some other additional work in railway infrastructure. And for this, like, we need to specify at least 3 time period in a month, which are most likely to extend the duration on the railway infrastructure construction projects. And we should also like specify 3 amount of risk in the percentage of investor budget, which most likely increases the financial resources. So altogether, like, we can group we can group all these risk factors into like 4 major categories, like the risk appearance of additional works, and risk types of additional works, and Likewise, consequence, appearance of additional work, and possible scenarios. And now I would like to call Divya to further continue the presentation.
In this slide, I'm going to explain risk analysis and Bayesian statistics and the basis network method. First, the researchers identified the aspects where the chances of occurrence was mostly highly accessed by the participants in the construction of the risk assessment model for additional work based on the research results. The model in the form of Bayes network was built using Netia software by Northeast Software Corporation. The risk analysis was divided into 4 steps. Each step was linked to Bayesian network architecture, and the 4 risk analysis are creating the nodes of the Bayes network and giving relationship to the particular nodes and assigning event probabilities, performing the calculations. In the first step of creation of nodes of the base networks, initially the nodes of the base network were created using the selected risk variables. Then the probability of extra works, types of of additional works, and the recursions of the phenomena. There are 9 nodes in the risk assessment model. Each of them was given a set of events that corresponded to the features of a particular node. An example of a node describing the occurrence of poor work organization is bad work organization, as well as alternative scenario for this risk assessment factor. Uh, this is the block diagram for base network model to access the risk of additional works. In the first initial stage, it contained 3 blocks of bag organization of works and changes in design solution introduced by the invest during the implementation of the investment and substantive errors and incompleteness of project documentation. And then it's go to and the second step of risk analysis is assigning event probabilities. In this model, the proper operation necessitates assigning a probability of occurrence to each event by expressed by means of percentage scale. Furthermore, the base network is distinguished between the fact that the beginning node events are directly introduced by establishing the probability level. The so-called conditional probabilities, which are based on the chain technique, must be used to represent the nodes connected by the reciprocal interactions. And the third one is performing calculations. The theorem of Thomas Bayes, which behinds the conditional probability of two occurrence conditioning each other, is the primary relationship employed in the development of Bayesian network. We can determine the probabilities of all events in a network by applying this theorem to a set of events, and developing large network necessitates the uses of the right programming. In the risk evaluation, building a this slide is about risk evaluation, building a risk assessment matrix. Prior to beginning the risk assessment, the subject's risk criteria must be established. In this, the author were unable to find the method of dedicated to additional works in the available literature on the object. Now, to determine the risk criteria, the matrix technique was proposed. This strategy is based on the notation that risk is expressed as the product of probability and its effect in a task. This is the table diagram of risk level ranges. The risk levels varies between low, medium, high, and very high, and the point ranges from 2 to 50 depending on the description of further action. From next slide, my friend Ashok will continue.
Yeah, thank you, Divya. Thank you, Sajol. So, my name is Ashok. I'm further continuing the presentation. So my part is like event scenario analysis. Can you move to next slide? So where the scenario analyzed will be the occurrence of a risk factor, including occurrence of a project documentation errors. So there might be an errors by during this analysis, and also this can be occurred using some of the events, like this event has been modeled at the top of errors of project documentation, and also a 100% probability was needed to investigate the scenario in the event described as a faulty. And the final point is the effects of the occurrence of event involving existence of faulty design documentation are shown in this figure, where you can see the additional works which is connected to the track works, and the track work which is linked to the extension of time, and where you can see the other side of the diagram like bad organization of work, and which are interlinked to changes by the investor, errors of the project documentation, road works, network works. So some of the related works which are connected to the additional works, and finally, it those are moving to the extension of time, where the time has been compared by the given months, like 3 months, 6 months, and over the 6 months. Next slide. So if I move to the next slide, there is an explanation about this modeling. The occurrence of an event affects the entire network. Since the occurrence of the phenomenon can be studied in relation to many variables, the authors choose to analyze the effect presented in the node, like extension of time. So the probability was read from the extension of implementation time node. So it can be divided into three parts, like extending the duration of implementation to 3 months at the level of 36%. And this can be divided into different kind of percentage overall to the 100% to become, and in extending the duration of implementation from 3 months to 6 months is like around 40.7%. So extending the duration of implementation over the 6 months period, where the time period has been calculated, so it has been like calculated as a 23.3% approximately. So if I move to the next slide, so there is a comparison between the effect of events, like effect of frequency, total points, risk level. So it can be varied from low to high. So some of the values like effect of event points like 2, 2 to 3, 2 to 10, 2 to 20, it might be vary sometimes. So if I explain about subsequently the effects of additional works, extension of duration of implementation were given the point values described in table 3, which was given and explained by me right now, and also assigned to probability intervals according to the table 4, which was explained previously. And also after assigning the points for the variance discussed, the risk was calculated in accordance with formula 1 and also classified in appropriate cells as a risk assessment matrix, which was shown in table 5. And also the results of calculation along with the qualification of the variance are presented in table 5. If I move to next slide, so there is another topic like risk mitigation proposal. So this was one of the proposal where you can see the selection of best risk management strategy depends on a variety factors like list of risk hierarchies and probability of achieving the cost and time goals, list of potential methods of action, and etc. So if I move to the next point, like, and includes a response to each type of risk in the project, the action plan is selected to the actions taken are as effective as possible. So these are divided into some of the factors, like the most popular strategies include like risk avoidance, risk transfer, risk mitigation, risk acceptance, emergency plan. If I move to next slide, so here clearly explains about the risk mitigation is a strategy of reducing the likelihood or effects of an adverse risk event to an acceptable level. So according to this definition, the possible actions include reducing the likelihood or faulty documentation or reducing the duration of implementation time. So if I move to the third point, like it was assumed that it is more realistic to reduce the likelihood or faulty documentation as a result of various investor activities. where you can see in the right side diagram. And also examples of procedures include checking the documentation created by the additional design office. So if I explain about this diagram, like additional works, track works, which are previously explained in other diagram, so it's similarly same thing. So some of the timings and the percentages are varied in this diagram when compared to the previous one, like up to 3 months, up to 6 months, over the 6 months, the percentage wise some of the changes have given like 49, 30 to 17.6. So if I move to the next slide, there is a summary and conclusion about this project. So the creators introduced one of the accessible procedures for the formulating risk the board systems utilizing a standard calculation that incorporates risk recognizable proof, risk examination, and hazard appraisal. And also the choose situation contains a unique technique department like dependent mostly upon the base organization. So this strategy considers the development of mind boggling and also sway networks that can be determined like demonstrated based on studies and verifiable information or well qualified feelings. And also as introduced in the examined occasion situation, an all-round modified organization can be utilized to carry out risk elevation techniques, that is modernization, and also study its effect on other organization hubs. So if I move to the final point, the mitigants which are affected in this project can be displayed as activities that straightforwardly decreases the likelihood of chances of elements in this event. So I can I see the next slide? Yeah, I mentioned some of the references from the guide where you can see five of the references I mentioned about this project. So that's all we are done with our presentation. Thank you.